All right, so if someone was to tell you that your country's budget is losing $300 a year from every household, you'll probably call it a crisis. So I want you to do this experiment with me in order to make things clear. Maybe it can help you. Imagine yourself as your own country, your own nation. We're gonna keep this analogy for this whole video, but I want you to just at least put that in your head. You're your own country. Get your reserves, get your GDP, all that stuff. So you're gonna see what I'm talking about. I came across an article that talked about when it comes to electricity costs, just about $300 a year is overspent on utilities. And this article is going to do a good job of explaining that or just talking about it. Now, I do kind of see some bias in this article. I don't like it when these articles, I can tell what their politics are because it just undercuts the message that they're trying to convey. But this is what I got, and that's not really the main point that I want to focus on. So the biggest thing is okay, state regulators can lower skyrocketing electric bills practically overnight by reducing utility profit rates. Investor owned utilities earn a guaranteed profit on every dollar they spend. State Public Utilities Commission set these profit rates, and right now they're way higher than they used to be. Former utility executive Mark Ellis estimates that the average American household overpays utilities by $300 a year because the companies extract 3 to 7 cents more on every dollar. So, if you're seeing yourself as a nation, there goes your foreign reserves just draining out your wallet. So you have these electricity companies. They're saying that they're trying to be more profitable, and then ends up you just spending more time. So a lot of times, especially the conversation, what's going on right now is about food, is about housing, but you also got to think about your utilities. You don't just pay rent. You got to pay your electricity. You got to pay your gas, water, sewage, trash. I mean, that's usually like every 3 months, but it's not. It's not that much. The electricity is what's gonna freaking kill you, and that's where it's gonna really mess you up because you can't not pay your electricity bill, or else you just don't have any power. It's pointless. You're paying rent for a place that you can't do anything in, and that's just the worst of it. Let me see. There's another part of this article. So this is Canary Media. This is another part I want to get to. Okay. Electricity prices are rising at more than twice the rate of inflation. The Trump administration's obstruction of clean energy and commitment to fossil fuels, particularly coal, are expected to make bills climb even further. So I don't know if this is so. This is where it comes to the bias. Doesn't matter what your political line. You really should be. Um, your focus should be on the facts, not being emotional about it, and what's really going on. Because they don't seem to mention the Green New Bill that was passed in the Biden administration that just jacked up everything. The closure of pipelines that brings in energy, oil, that they closed up, leading to an increase in energy. So when I see stuff like this, it's just kind of like, why can't you just be non-biased and just tell, or if you're gonna bring up Trump's, I don't even think this coal part is true, but I know they want to do a lot of nuclear energy or increase nuclear energy production. Is actually the most cleanest source of energy, and it's really efficient that we have, but we just don't build nuclear power plants. But anyways, at least have both sides. But anyways, bills are expected to climb. So it's time to get ready to handle the problem. We're all tired of paying more for electricity. We could pay less if state legislators and utility regulators seize the moment and act in the interest of. Okay, this is a personal thing. I don't like it when government comes in and starts dictating how private companies uh, can run or make their profit. I think that's a slippery slope because a lot of these governments don't know how to manage their own funds adequately. So I don't like when I hear language like that. It sounds too much like communism. Like when you're okay, we got to stop these companies. Oh, they're always the bad. Like I would want to know the full story of okay, what are the expenses that these companies are seeing now that they have to increase their profit margin or whatever. I want to hear that argument. When it comes to grocery stores, a lot of these politicians were talking about grocery stores are trying to rip off the consumer and stuff like that, and they never talk about how the margins of grocery stores, the expenses versus subtracted from the profits, are really really thin, like 2% or 3% or something like that. So when they have a lot of shrink, when they have a lot of damage, shrinkage, just theft and stuff like that, they end up losing money. So then the politicians will say, "Oh, these grocery stores are trying to leave." Why would, if a business is making money, why would they just abruptly leave? So it's just ridiculous. Like this is what I don't like about a lot of these articles. But I mean, that's not really the point I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is utilities are non-negotiable. If you're in your own personal nation state, this is your infrastructure, and if the infrastructure bills are too high, then there's going to be you're basically going to go bankrupt. So I want you to think about your own electricity bill. If you ever had one that was really high, and did you realize the increases that you got from them? So I remember I was leaving when I was living in Atlanta. It was a two-bedroom, two-bath apartment. It was all electric, and it was just me that was living there. So I remember I moved in the winter, and for the most part, my electricity bills were around 150. I remember that. And then I stayed there for like 14 months. So by the summertime, it jumped up. I was expecting it, but it jumped up to around 200. It was kind of hovering around that. So I was like, okay, I definitely got to try to chill out because I also had washer and dryer and stuff like that. And even the energy company sent me a letter saying, okay, try not to use your electricity or energy during these peak times. That's when it's going to be most expensive. I'm sure you got the same letters as well. I didn't really pay attention to it like that, but regardless, I remember. So that's the summertime. When it came all the way back around to the winter time or getting close to the winter time, I remember I got an electricity bill that was like 350, and I was like, what the hell? It's just me. I didn't really change my habits. Now, one thing about this apartment, it's one of those new. So the building was about 3 years old, and they have the laminate flooring and they have the higher ceilings. And one thing I realized is it takes a lot of energy in order to condition that space. And so when the wintertime came, it was always cold in that place. Like I had to wear like socks, like hat, like I was freezing, and I tried to use the portable heater, but I kind of felt like that was gonna raise my bills too much. But um, it just sucked, and then it really hit me like, okay, I really got to manage my utilities. What can I do? What can I start to cut costs? Eventually, I just left the place, moved out, came back to the DMV, but I don't know. In your situation, did you realize, like, if you look at your whole bill for the entire year, do you notice the different periods of the year where the energy bill is higher, is lower, and what could have caused that? What are you doing for yourself? But there was another part. Let me get to this part. So they do talk about state regulators can lower the runaway profits. That's the part that it just kind of makes me feel iffy. If they can guarantee a profit, like if you're gonna invest in a company, you want guarantees as much as possible. You want consistency. Basically, is what you're looking for as an investor. When the state is coming in and dictating that part, that's where I don't like it. But I can understand the point because basically you're paying more not for your usage, but because the the company is building more infrastructure. So they're building more infrastructure. You're basically paying for that. So I can see how that's not fair as well. That doesn't feel fair, and I can definitely understand that part. But the biggest thing I want to bring it back to is this is basically your reserves as a nation, your surplus. If you have to spend more on just your infrastructure, like these essentials, you don't have as much savings to do stuff. Your surplus. So like imagine a nation that's spending like about like 50% of its reserves, or 50% of its income on oil and on importing oil, well, you're just going to collapse because you can't. That's too high. Now flip it back on you. If you're paying like 50 to 60% of your income on rent, housing, utilities, like those essentials, then how are you going to come out of the hole? Like something needs to, you need to do something to change debt. If you got to pay that interest and credit card debt, you're definitely at war with yourself. It's not the outside. Something has to change. You gotta make a pivot because a government just giving you money like a bailout. Remember during COVID, bailout, that's not gonna work. What you need to do is you need to restructure something very very serious. So some things that you could do is definitely you gotta audit your bills monthly. So it seems simple, but a lot of people don't do it. I remember when I was just doing my thing, I didn't want to look at my bill. Like you get the bill in the mail, or usually it's going to be automatic, and you have an account online, and you're knowing in your head you're expecting to make a certain payment. You know the big ticket payments usually beginning of the month or end of the month, and I'll keep that in my head. I'm like, okay, I know this is going to come out. Oh yeah, I forgot about that subscription or whatever that came out and stuff like that. So but I never actually looked at the trend. I never looked at the trend and am I actually utilizing whatever I'm paying for. So look at your bills. Track last year from where you are now, and then if you are able to do it, I know it's very difficult. Negotiate lower prices or see if you can switch services when it comes to utilities. Now, most of the time, you don't really have an option of where you can go. I remember this was a thing like years before where people was trying to they was trying to pick who's going to be their trash collector, and then what's the cheapest price and stuff like that. I remember, but usually when it comes to utilities, it's very difficult. There's not that much competition. So because there's not that much competition, they kind of have that leverage over you, or they do have that leverage over you, where they can increase prices and stuff like that to a point where the government will have to step in just to protect its citizens. So switch plans if you can, and then reduce your fixed costs. This is the one you control the most. Buy more energy efficient bulbs. Sure, you already know this. This is all reminders. Take out your plugs if you're not using your appliances. Get one of those programmable thermostats. Where if it's the winter time, where it had like layers when you're inside the house. Summertime, have the fan rolling, windows open, do what you can, put the blinds down so like all that heat doesn't come in. There's a lot of stuff that you could do because if your utility cost is going up, look at it as inflation. Like you gotta prepare for it. The utility cost, there's not much you can do about it, but you can always plan for whatever happens. Protect your reserves at all costs. So if you're out there saying, okay, rent is really high, so expensive, where I'm going to live, and then at the same time you're using up your utilities, HVAC, so heating, cooling, you're not really paying attention to it. You're running like five TVs in the house all at once. If you're doing it's kind of like, wait, you got to take a step back and realize it's not just the rent. You might be in a better position if those hundreds of dollars kind of like shave off from what's coming from the utilities. You got to make adjustments. You got to look at how your behavior is. That's really what it comes down to. Your lifestyle is going to be based on your behavior. So the goal is really to build your reserves, those savings. So if you can cap your expenses as much as possible or lower them, GDP, your income, you can increase that, then you'll be in a better position where you don't have that affordability problem, and you are a sovereign nation where you're not relying on, okay, if the energy or the utility companies increase their prices, then I'm going to be as out. Like you don't have to be in that position. So best thing, or what's always going to be recommended, and when I realized from a lot of so when I study a lot of successful people from the past, like the 1900s, 1800s, even to now, and like just really famous people now, they all have the same mentality of being a stickler for their finances and where their money is going. They audit themselves. So it's like, just think of like a Walmart. A Walmart, the largest retail company in the world. You best believe that they know exactly where their numbers are going because they keep on growing. Even during like recessions and stuff like that, everyone goes to Walmart, and because they're so big, they have leverage in how they can get better prices. So there's multiple people looking at the numbers, making sure things make sense. If they're going to expand somewhere, they got the data and everything like that. So take that concept and just apply it to yourself. Look at yourself and say, okay, I'm not where I want to be financially, or things have gotten tough than how I was in the beginning of the year. What have I been spending my money on? What can I cut? What can I need data? I need facts, statistics, figures, something to make decisions off of. If you don't have that, get an audit. And that's what I do. I help people, I audit their finances and organize it so that they can see, or you can see, what you're spending a lot of your money on. For example, I remember one person was spending a lot of money on paper towels. They just obsessively use paper towels for every little thing. The ones that are like divided in three, you can like pull. They just keep on using it. It's just like, okay, why are you spending $300 a month? And it was only a family of three. So, so things like that. Audit your expenses and then figure out, okay, what type of habit? Why are you spending this much when it's not needed? I want to go to another part of this. Um, I want to go to another part of the article. Let me see. I don't know if I want to go to that article. Basically, it was an article that was talking about. Let me actually do this. Oh yeah, I know why I want to bring this up. So, so this article was talking about. This is in October of this year. Residents 49 states increasing electric and natural gas bills. So it's a lot of words. I'm not going to read all these words, but there was a part that really, it reminded me of what's going on, and what I don't see a lot of people talking about is the energy demand from data centers and AI. So I haven't done that much detailed research on this area, but from what I'm learning, these data centers and AI centers, or I guess just data centers and AI, they use a ton of energy. And what I heard was, because of the amount of energy it's using, it starts to slightly interfere with the current that comes into your house. It's a little bit more volatile, but not to the point where it can really cause damage, but it can limit the life of your electronics, or something like that. So let me just read this part. For the first time in a decade, U.S. electricity demand is on the rise, and it could grow by 25% by 2030, driven by data centers that provide AI, cloud-based, and crypto services, without policy interventions such as requiring data centers to pay their fair share of the generation infrastructure costs necessary to connect them to the grid. Data centers could potentially increase costs at alarming rates for American households and businesses if utilities do not have proper cost allocation approaches for new and large commercial and industrial customers. Um, yeah, yeah. Basically, you're losing money. Another chunk of it, another area you're losing money is because these data centers. But everyone uses AI. I use AI. I get pessimistic about how this can look like in the future. Just more demand on the system. At the same time, you do have a population decline in this country. I guess globally as well. So guess we'll see how that all that works out. Yeah, looking at yourself as a country, if your foreign reserves, your savings start to decline and collapse, then if any situation happens that's catastrophic or any problem really occurs, like pandemic is an easy example, you're gonna be in the wind. You know, you're gonna be in real big trouble. And we already saw that with the government, the recent government shutdown. Now it's open back up, but you never want to put yourself in a situation where one little thing can just mess you up. The $400 in savings, most Americans don't have that. $1,000, most Americans don't have that. Like, why is that? Like, you just that's what I'm saying. You got to audit yourself and realize, why don't you have this money? If you work the whole entire year full time, where's your savings at? Why don't you have any savings? You got to be mad at yourself and just say, like, is what kind of a adult am I that at this age I can't manage a $500 car problem, car issue, or something like that, or my car got towed, I can't pay for it. Like, you really got to evaluate how you're spending your money, and if this is the type of life that you want to continue to live. Because if you're not paying attention, next year is going to be the same thing, and then the next year, just law of inertia, body in motion stays in motion, body at rest stays at rest. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you just keep doing the same thing over and over, you're not really thinking about it, you're going to find yourself in the same position next year. So remember, your revenue is your income. You're a nation. Your infrastructure is going to be your rent, your utilities, um, your debts. Like, manage that part. You want to The surplus is really what you're trying to have. The savings and investments, uh, really important, because when things get tough, it's going to be a problem, and I think it's going to get worse. I don't Even next year, if this affordability issue doesn't go away, houses continue to get expensive, the rates don't. I keep thinking it's just going to be a disaster. So, you want to have your options open. But anyways, get yourself audited. If you haven't already audited yourself, this is what I provide. Let me do this. Where's my cash flow? Is a service that I provide where we go through. Ooh, I need to eat. We go through all your transactions, 3 month, 6 month, 12 month, and we see where your spending is at and how you're spending it, why you're spending it in that way, patterns. Like for example, you look at the whole year. So I do an audit on someone for 12 months. In January, let's just say February, there's a high increase in social outings. Why? Oh, there was a breakup. Broke up with your partner or whatever. You felt the need to go out just to not think about it. Boom, you're spending that much. Didn't really come down. You're still going up. Ooh, do you really want to do that? What do you have to show for all that time you've been going out? Did you really meet new people? Did you really get any type of experience, or did you just spend more money? Especially with how they want to charge tips for everything. So boom, there you go. Summertime. Why is it high? Oh, you had like two weddings and then you kept on buying gifts for everyone. Did you really need to spend that much money? Why are you doing that? How much money? So there could be thousands right there. Imagine if you put those thousands into your non-existent emergency fund. No emergency fund. So how are you spending this type of money? So it's very possible on your salary, you can change your fixed costs so that you do have that cushion, you do have that reserve, you have those savings. But how are you gonna, if you're not, a lot of times you got to see this stuff right in your face. If you see it in your face, you can't deny, you can't guess, you can't say, oh, I don't know. No, it's right there. It's telling you this is where all your money went. This is why you're broke right now. This is why you don't have $400 in savings. You can only look at yourself. So that's the whole point of the audit. It's not just like budget is one thing. I don't really like to budget. It has its place, but the audit, like you want to see the story of your life within that period of time. In this case, if it's 12 months, within the last 12 months, like why are you in the position that you're at? And you was in the same position last year, or you was better last year, and now you're worse. Like how did you get there? You gotta understand. You need data, you need statistics, you need facts, and that's what I do. Give audits, audit, and organize your transactions. So um, don't burn your reserves. Don't let your utilities just take away all your money. Don't be out there complaining about why it is the way it is. Like it does nothing for you. But if you found this useful, definitely like and subscribe. And I want you to tell me, like, so if you were tasked to publicly, so you're a nation, you're your own country. If someone asks you to publish your nation's figures, would you be proud with what you see or no? So, what do you think you would say? So, obviously, your nation's figures. I'm talking about yourself, your personal, your expenses, what you brought in for so far in the year. Would you be proud of what you have to put out, or would you be ashamed, and why? So, anyways, I look forward to seeing you in the next one.